my channel, and today we're going to be doing a DIY. This is a DIY spot treatment for those acne flare-ups that we get, those pimple breakouts, things that are just such nuisances, and this is something that you can do in the comfort of your own home to treat some of those flare-ups. So acne or pimples happens in a few different stages. There's actually 4 stages to how acne or pimples happen. The first stage is that dry skin cells that our bodies naturally shed will mix with the sebum that our pores will produce. Sebum is that oil, so people who have oily skin produce an abundance of sebum, and people who have dry skin produce not enough sebum. But basically the dry skin cells, or the dead skin cells, will mix with the sebum and it's going to clog the pore. So that's step 1. So once the pore is clogged and there's no extraction point, then the sebum that our skin will continually produce has nowhere to escape. So it pretty much just builds up behind the clog to produce a bigger pimple, essentially. So step 3 is when bacteria infects that clogged pore. Now, bacteria has nothing to do with hygiene. Sometimes it just is. Sometimes it can be genetic. Sometimes it can be because we weren't taking very good care of our skin. It doesn't necessarily mean that, you're dirty and you have like all this bacteria on your face, because technically we have bacteria all over our bodies at any given point. So bacteria will actually infect that clogged pore, and that's step 3. And then step 4 occurs when the bacteria starts to spread all over your face to the other pimples that you're getting. So if you go to dermatologists, a lot of times they will try to reduce the symptoms of the acne. So they'll prescribe antibiotics, which I do know people who are on antibiotics for their acne issues. And antibiotics will kill the bacteria that is causing the inflammation. So you want the bacteria to die, but the problem with antibiotics is that antibiotics will kill all good bacteria in your body. So it doesn't just kill, the inflamed bacteria, the bacteria that's causing your acne, but it's also going to kill the good bacteria in your stomach, the good bacteria in your intestines. I know a long time ago I went to the doctor. I had like a virus or something. Maybe it wasn't a virus because you can't take antibiotics for viruses, but I had something, and I went to the doctor and he prescribed antibiotics, and he said make sure that whenever you take antibiotics you should always eat yogurt with it, because, and I really had never heard of this, and I was like 23 or something, or 24 so I'd lived like 24 years of my life not knowing that you should eat yogurt when you take antibiotics. And the reason is because you need to replace some of that good bacteria, the ones that are in your gut, and it can also help to prevent yeast infections, because there are some people that will get like horrible yeast infections when they take antibiotics, because the antibiotics kills, again, all the good bacteria. So you need to have that good bacteria in your body to be healthy, and antibiotics will kill everything. So if you're taking antibiotics, then that's great, and if it's working for you, that's awesome, but make sure that you're eating yogurt with it, FYI. Second is Retin-a, and Retin-a works because it helps with cellular turnover. So if your cells are turning over, then it sort of helps because it's not causing those dead skin cells to attach itself to the sebum to clog the pore. So some dermatologists will prescribe that. Then there are hormonal treatments, such as birth control, and some people have had success with those things, but of course, with everything there's side effects, so just be leery if you're going to take something like birth control for your acne. And then the last one is Accutane, and this is something that, or I don't know what like the generic name that, I don't really know what it's called, but Accutane, people know, when you say Accutane, they know what you're talking about. So Accutane is relatively new, and people have been taking it, but some people have had really, really bad experiences. So if you're going to take Accutane, just make sure that you have that conversation with your dermatologist to see if you're a good candidate for it. Some people have had great success with it, but it's changed certain things about their skin, and some people have had just horrible, horrible, horrible experiences with Accutane. You can Google it. It's sort of a kind of like taboo topic, I guess, because people don't know if it's a good thing or if it's a bad thing. Again, some people have had success with it, some people have had horrible experiences with it, so just make sure that you're doing your research before you try any of those treatments that the dermatologist will prescribe to you. Now, the reason why I prefer this DIY treatment is obviously because I don't have acne, but I do get pimples. So if you have acne, then again, go see a dermatologist. If you struggle with the occasional pimple, or if you've tried all of the things that I've mentioned above that dermatologists have recommended and nothing's worked for you, then this may be something that you want to try, especially if you're sort of over having acne, if you've done those things before and you've got rid of the chronic cystic acne and now you're just treating flare-ups, then this is a great alternative. And we're just going to be using a few different ingredients, so let me show you. The first one is jojoba oil, and the second one is tea tree oil. Now, you're also going to need a measuring spoon. This is a half a teaspoon. You don't really need a measuring spoon, but I like to use one when I'm making this. And then next, you're gonna need some sort of container. This is just an old like MAC pigment container. So I have sanitized it, washed it out, and done all the good stuff to make sure that it is ready for this DIY treatment. So let me talk a little bit about why we're using the ingredients we're using, because you're probably really curious. So with acne or with pimples, basically you want to eliminate as many of the stages as you possibly can. So 1 through 4, you want to get rid of as many of those stages in order to prevent and to heal acne. So the reason why we're using jojoba oil is, one, is because it mimics sebum. The jojoba oil is going to take care of steps 1 and 2. That is the dry cells mixing with the sebum and the sebum sort of overproduction of sebum being trapped behind the clogged pore. Now, the reason why our skin produces a lot of oil sometimes is because it thinks that it needs to. If we have oily skin and you constantly wash your face, your skin is going to be like, oh, I'm dry, I need to produce more oil because my skin is dry. So you're actually working against it when you keep washing your face over and over and over again if you have oily skin. What you want to do is you want to balance out the production of sebum. And by using jojoba oil, now I know you're probably saying like, okay, that's oil, I have oily skin, I do not want oil in my skin, it's going to clog my pores. First of all, jojoba oil is not technically an oil, it's actually an extract, even though it's called oil because it sort of has an oily consistency, but it's actually a plant extract. Second, it mimics our natural sebum, and third, it's non-comedogenic. So it's highly, 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 highly unlikely that this is going to clog your pores and that it's going to cause acne. It actually just works the same way that your skin's oil works. The reason why it works for this treatment is because it's going to balance out the sebum production. It's going to tell your skin that I'm hydrated and I do not need to produce more sebum to hydrate my skin. So that's why jojoba oil is going to work, and again, that's going to help take care of steps 1 and 2. Steps 3 and 4, in terms of the bacteria and the inflammation and the spread of that bacteria, we're going to be using tea tree oil. Now, there are studies out there that have shown that tea tree oil actually works better than benzoyl peroxide, which is a common pimple acne treatment, just without the side effects, without the redness, without the irritation, without the peeling, without turning your pillowcase white. So tea tree oil is great for that. And the reason why is because it contains antibacterial and antimicrobial properties called terpenoids that is going to help kill and eliminate that bacteria that is causing that pimple. Steps 3 and 4, in terms of the bacteria and the inflammation and the spread of that bacteria, we're going to be using tea tree oil. Now, there are studies out there that have shown that tea tree oil actually works better than benzoyl peroxide, which is a common pimple acne treatment, just without the side effects, without the redness, without the irritation, without the peeling, without turning your pillowcase white. So tea tree oil is great for that. And the reason why is because it contains antibacterial and antimicrobial properties called terpenoids that is going to help kill and eliminate that bacteria that is causing that pimple. It is an awesome natural alternative to some of the medicines or the medicated creams and stuff that's out there. Tea tree oil is amazing. Again, I'll do an entire video on tea tree oil just because it is awesome. Okay, so let's get started with the DIY. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my Desert Essence 100% jojoba oil, and I'm going to put half a teaspoon into my little container. So that's half a teaspoon, if you can see. And then I'm going to take my tea tree oil and add about 5 drops of tea tree oil to my concoction. If you have a dropper, then that will certainly help you, but it drops out fairly well from the bottle. So the measurements end up being somewhere around 1 part tea tree oil to 4 parts jojoba oil. And then I will take my Q-tip and mix it all together, pop the lid back on, and you're done. So you're probably thinking, why did she make such a small amount in that little bottle? I don't know if you can see here. It's like the color of myself. Okay. But the reason is because this is really going to last me for quite a long time. I don't have acne. I just get breakouts like sometimes, like once or twice a month, like usually hormonal. And so what I will do is I will just take a Q-tip and then I will dip it in and then apply it onto the spot where I need the treatment. And that works just enough for me, and this lasts for a really long time. I would definitely suggest using like a sterile Q-tip or like sterile gauze or a cotton pad or something to dip it in here. I wouldn't really use your finger. If you were going to use your fingers, just make sure that your hands are exceptionally clean. Just make sure that they're super duper washed and dried. I would dry them with a clean towel or a paper towel even, and before I stick my finger in here, because I don't want to contaminate the stuff that's in the jar. So that's it. I hope that that was helpful for some of you guys who are looking for alternative treatments to the conventional ones that you can get at the store or from the dermatologist. This one is an all-natural treatment. It's fairly inexpensive because you're getting like the tea tree oil and the jojoba oil in like a big bottle. So it's really cost effective that way, and it lasts me a really long time. If you have extra dry skin, you can certainly add more tea tree oil. If you have more dry skin, then I would add more jojoba oil, just because the measurements, you can sort of play around with those depending on the skin type that you have to make it work best for you. But too much tea tree oil can sometimes be really irritating to people with sensitive skin or dry skin, so I would just keep the measurements as is if you have normal skin, or I would add more jojoba oil if you have you know, like dry sensitive skin. So I hope that you guys are having an awesome day, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care. Bye.